Hey guys, welcome back to EAK TV. I'm delighted to have Leonard Bonello, the partner at GANADO Advocates. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
Cool, so we're here at Delta Summit in Malta, the second ever Delta Summit. And of course, your specialism is in the law space as far as I'm aware. So I'm really interested to know about, what are the kind of main challenges that you're facing right now as a law firm in Malta? Of course, they passed the regulatory framework for blockchain a while ago now, and I know they're looking at AI. I know there's been a few, complications as to how easy it might be to actually get these licenses in Malta. So I'd love to have your view on that, whether that's just FUD or whether it actually has any legs, and how you see the kind of regulation in Malta, how we actually see it evolving from where we are now.
All right. On a personal level, I would say that first of all, there's a huge culture change and a huge culture gap. First of all, as lawyers, we think in terms of jurisdiction. So we are specialized in laws of one country. Whereas then we're speaking to technologists who see a world without borders. And it's really interesting when you're sitting around the table and you need to bridge that gap somehow. You need to help technologists understand that regulation can be helpful and regulation can be a positive tool. And they, of course, need to help us understand the technology at a better level. So as much as I like to consider myself very keen on fintech matters, of course, I'm not a technologist by nature, I'm not a technologist by profession. So there is a certain element of conversion which needs to be happening. As you mentioned, this is the second Delta Summit, and now we've been assisting a number of clients for more than a year. And I think we've done some good progress in achieving that level of convergence and that level of transitioning. As I mentioned, technologists like to see a world without borders, but of course, when you get to regulation, there are some constraints. So regulation can be positive, but regulation can also constrain you in certain aspects. So some of the most common queries we get is, listen, I would like to have an all-asset exchange. I can exchange my oranges for crypto. I can exchange my crypto for fiat. I can exchange my fiat for gold. But the way financial regulation is designed, you could easily have 3 different regulated activities and 3 different entities for all those processes. Okay. And this is the kind of education which you need to go through with a technologist to allow him to bridge that level of gap. What is comforting, and I think is part of the maturity of this industry, is that we're seeing many more people leaving, let's say, investment banks, leaving investment firms, and joining the crypto space. Because they're seeing opportunities, they're seeing a more long-term vision in this industry. And then you therefore ensure that even clients, within the client structure itself, there are people who are thinking on a regulatory level as well. And that is, I would call it, we went from a teenage era to a more mature era. And clients are clearly maturing and understanding how to stick to regulation, how to adopt regulation, and so on. The law is not perfect, but nothing is. As in every other thing in life, there are many teething problems. However, what I can say is that generally speaking, especially in the exchanges industry, Malta keeps on going from strength to strength. So I think we have managed to carve out a niche within that market. And all of the big names like Binance, OKX, OKCoins, ZBX, BitBay, they were all here a year ago, they're still here now, and hopefully they will still be here next Delta Summit. And all of them are going through their own learning process, which we're participating in. And it's an interesting journey, I would say.
All right, so what kind of clients are you seeing then coming to your firm? I mean, has that client base changed? I know you mentioned exchanges, but are you seeing a specific trend here in Malta of specific types of clients that are coming to you?
Okay, so I would say a year and a half ago, there was quite a good distribution between exchanges, service providers, crypto brokers and the likes, and ICOs. I think perhaps the regulatory framework in Malta is slightly cumbersome for ICOs. And I think even globally, there isn't the same buzz around ICOs that we were seeing before. So there we have seen the interest shrink considerably and interest growing again within the exchanges sectors. most of them are operating what we call non-discriminate order matching system, whereas there are other models who are simply connect through APIs through another crypto exchange. Some of them simply you have proprietary trading, which means they already own those Bitcoin, and it's like the exchange bureau model, where you go to buy euro and they sell you their USD and vice versa. So I would say there's a healthy mix between that, but the vast majority are middlemen. So they're simply setting up their exchange to act as a middleman and to make commission from a trade between a buyer and seller, which are both performers on the platform. What we're also seeing an increase in, and I think this is probably, we start seeing more and more in the future, is the use of the technology in traditional financial services products. So we have seen financial instruments, we have seen derivative contracts being settled through smart contracts, which again shows a level of convergence between the crypto industry and the traditional industry. And I think it augurs well for the whole industry as a whole, but also for the technology, which ultimately is, I think, the topmost priority within this sector.
Cool. So obviously Malta had a first leader advantage in the EU by passing their regulatory framework. We're seeing France and other big countries now really starting to warm up to blockchain. How does Malta remain at the forefront, from a regulatory perspective, or does it even want to, or especially with these bigger countries coming in, or does it see its position as, open and willing to kind of cooperate with those countries and less competitive in that respect?
All right. I think what has happened in the past year is that the MFSA has been very cooperative with other foreign authorities. We are too small as a jurisdiction to build walls or to build barriers, so we need to make sure that we remain relevant in a more continental or a global debate which is taking place on these topics. So the MFSA has, I am aware that they've had constant meetings with other supranational authorities or with other national authorities of other EU member states. And my sense is that most of these regulators are looking at the Maltese models and learning some good lessons and taking some good points away from it. And so in a way I believe that Malta is contributing to many other crypto regimes which are being, which are taking place in other European jurisdictions. How do we remain at the cutting edge? It's not easy. And sometimes perhaps being first mover isn't always the best position to be in. But I think the thing that will keep us ahead of the pack is that, first of all, we're already looking at the law to see whether we can recalibrate it and to make sure that it is proportionate to what the industry needs. And secondly, we are now looking at a second or third level of regulation, which is looking at legal issues which perhaps have been overseen up to now. So where do you apportion liability? What is the relevant law when you have a blockchain which is not housed in any specific jurisdiction? Who has regulatory oversight over that? So we are now experiencing certain issues which perhaps other countries aren't yet facing. And hopefully that will allow us to remain at the forefront. At some point in time, I think Europe as a continent will take a lead. And that is where perhaps we will no longer be able to remain ahead of the pack. But if we manage to be a meaningful contributor to that discussion, that would already be a great plus for the country.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for joining us. Is there any kind of news or any kind of announcements or anything you'd like to kind of tell our viewers about GANADO?
That's a very tough question for a lawyer who's bound by professional secrecy. So I'll let market participants make that. But anyway, thank you very much for your time. It's been a great pleasure. All
right, perfect. Where can we learn more about your firm?
So there is our website, www.ganadoadvocates.com. We like to publish a lot of material. We believe in sharing of knowledge. We don't believe in silos, so we like to make sure that our thoughts, whether right or wrong, are available, and we like to provoke a healthy debate, because that's the only way, by exchange of ideas, that we manage to elevate our offering as a firm and Malta's offering as a jurisdiction.
Perfect. All right. Leonard, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great rest of the show.